Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Breakthrough Blueprint, where we talk to entrepreneurs about how they became successful today. And I have with me my amazing friend Nehal, and I'll hand it over to him to introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. So, yeah, I'm the founder of adpros.com. We are a high growth agency partner for e commerce brands primarily. And major shift in our business right now is moving towards creative strategy. And so that's essentially what we do.
Amazing. And so, how did you first even get started in the ad space?
Out of necessity, I was trying to figure out how to support myself and my family. And so I've been running my business now for 13 years. It's gone had a lot of different evolutions over time. And so I'm in the next evolution at the moment with all the AI implications for our agency. And yeah, I started with selling websites. Someone asked me to do a website. I had no idea how to do it. I said yeah, and I started. And so it led to went from websites to social media marketing to running ads for local businesses, and then it's evolved from there.
Wow, that's amazing. And then, so how did you decide to focus then on e commerce?
The transition was really easy because what happened is that we were running ads for info products and coaching offers, and then we had this one supplement client, and they said if you can't spend $60,000 a month, we can't work with you. And so that was a very different environment from all the other clients that we had, which was like it was nice to spend 10,000 a month. It would be cool to spend 30,000 a month. They're saying our floor is 60,000 and we get paid on ad spend. And so that was such a paradigm shift for me, which is like, how does that work? What are you guys thinking where 60,000 is your minimum? And so that opened up a lot of different opportunities. And then from there, I took that on as a challenge. And eventually we started getting close to a million a month in spend. And made a goal of like, I want to hit a million. And then it was 2 million and onwards. And so that was the kind of the growth of the ecom side.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, in order to learn those skills and to scale that side of the business, did you invest in coaching and mentorship, or how did you learn?
Yeah, I've had many coaches over the years and many masterminds I've joined. I went to school for entrepreneurship, which is maybe counterintuitive. So I went to school for that, a bachelor of commerce, etc. But the real learning was from implementation and also being around awesome business owners and just not settling. Like we started selling our agency services at like $500 a month. And so we've had clients pay over 120,000 a month. And so that is not normal generally. And so we've only been able to do that based off of, taking on risk, creating challenges, finding opportunities to do that.
That's incredible. So I was looking at your website and I saw that there's some really big, well-known brands that you've worked with. Like, how did you work with them or did they find you?
It's what I've learned now that I've been in the space for a while is that it's like 90% timing. So if you see like agency services or, a lot of higher ticket stuff, it's that you could be really good at your job. You can have a great team. You can have all the skills and, be in a situation where you can create a result for someone. But timing is everything because you could have a big business that's doing $100 million or $1 billion in revenue, and they don't have any desire to change agencies, and everything is perfect and everything is fine. And they will repel any agency or consultant that comes close to them. And then there's like code red, which is there's economic pressure, there's team pressure. Someone quits, someone wants to leave. We don't like the person who's running growth anymore. The growth team isn't doing well. Whatever the case is, something happens where there's a trigger and there is insane urgency to solve that problem because the opportunity costs and hard costs are very, very high. So that is how we've got some of the brands that are more well known because the timing aligned, a platform that we were working with aligned, a country opportunity opened up because they were working in many different regions, and so it's just timing from my perspective.
Love that. That's really interesting. And then, so for your clients, so these clients in e-commerce that are spending tens of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands in ad spend per month, like what does that look like, I guess, from start to finish? And like, do you also do the creative parts of that campaign?
So what we used to do, our main four deliverables were strategy. How are you going to add your next $1 million a month in revenue? Media buying, advertising across 11 different ad platforms in terms of actually pressing buttons. Creatives, now that you know how you're going to do the business strategy and the growth strategy and where you're going to do it, now you decide on what the creatives look like. And lastly was data. And so now that you have all of these actions happening, what are the data that converts into insights that goes back into actions within strategy? So those were our four. What we realized is that most of our clients don't value the strategy or media buying or data side as much because everyone wants to talk about creatives. And so that is the major adjustment that we're making. And the reason for that is, media buying is getting simplified a lot across a lot of platforms. And everyone talks about, I just killed my marketing agency and I just stopped, my whole marketing is run by OpenClaw, et cetera. All that stuff is cool. But what real businesses care about is stability, protection, compliance, longevity, sustainability, all that kind of stuff. And the foundation of that, from our perspective, media buying strategy, data, all of those are necessary. But the thing that our clients love the most is creatives and creative strategy. So that's what we're going to be focusing on.
Interesting. So, what are then the changes that you've seen with AI being more used and AI generated content?
I think the biggest thing happening right now with AI is that most founders and executive teams are pretty anxious and stressed out and constantly feeling like FOMO and feel like they're missing out. There's people in AI and working on it, but it's like if you go on Instagram, on X, like YouTube, it feels like everyone's doing it, but the reality is like very few people are. And the level of execution, no matter what level of execution you're doing, you constantly feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing like I should be doing more. Who else should I be like working with? All this stuff. So what I've realized with AI is like, at least for us right now, is what is the most valuable way that we can use AI in our business based off of the right departments, based off of the right opportunities. Because as an example, there's a lot of media buying AI tools right now, which are great.
Mhm.
The issue for us is that we don't have a media buying automation or decision making process problem. And so if we don't have a media buying problem, like why are we going to implement AI to solve that problem? It's cool. It helps marginally, but it's not the opportunity. The opportunity for us is marketing when it comes to content, as well as AI development for the purposes of internal tools and processes and workflows. That is a way higher opportunity for us that increases margin, that increases our effectiveness, and increases how many clients we can serve with the same team.
So, how does that look within your business in terms of automating more processes and have you let go of people as a result?
We haven't let go of people. The reason for that is my perspective is I'm not optimizing for just efficiency. I'm optimizing for capacity. And so I rather have similar people and like increase how many people we serve and brands that we serve. And that's part of the reason that we're making the adjustment that we are instead of cut people to save a few $1,000s or whatever, $10,000, $20,000. Like that's important too. But greater opportunity is how do we add the next 200,000, 500,000 a month in revenue instead of trying to save like $10,000. Like it's not the opportunity. It doesn't make sense. We're actually in the process of hiring a lot more people because they're going to be higher leverage role, higher value role. Their revenue for the return on their salary is going to be way higher. And the whole point of the direction that we're going in is having services that are meaningful with an impact that are very profitable and they're going to be AI assisted. So there's two main things that we're doing. So we're providing the offer that we are calling it as creative advisory board. The purpose is that right now with copy, with creatives, you can create more. The issue now went from how do I create awesome stuff to now what should I create? So if you look at copy and creatives and like images and videos, it's very easy and cheap and fast to do it. Now that that problem is solved, what is the next logical problem? And that's creative strategy. So that's what we're going to be doing for people. We're already doing that for many brands. And that model is very different because depending on where we land on it, we can scale up to 100 clients or more, where our model traditionally has been less clients, higher intimacy, more depth. And that is not, we've decided to go away from that. And the reason is because we can provide a very specific service that has incredible value, high return on investment for them and valuable for us. And then the other side is we're building our own internal workflows and public workflows as well with AI. So you'll see that here soon.
Gotcha. So then those people that you're going to hire are those people have long career histories within creative strategy and are storytellers then? Okay.
Correct. So the different types of personality types for that role for the creative strategist is someone who is either a copywriter and that they have the ability to, because if you have pretty ads don't convert. That's not the lever. Once you solve for
Mm,
pretty, the actual opportunity is the messaging because
mhm.
The prettiness just is a function of design. And once you have a bunch of templates, like great, you can edit well or you can design well and you understand functionality of that for performance. That's great. But that plateaus. We notice what is more valuable is how you integrate 9 different dimensions of business strategy and connect that into execution. And so that's what we're truly working on. And so there's the copywriter side. There's a person who's just a great account manager, who's a professional account manager. That's all they do. They like a career person who's really good at talking to
Hmm.
humans. And then the last one is someone who's a performance marketer, whether they're been on the growth side, on the creative side, manage teams, and they want to elevate and just work on creative strategy, on deciding what to create and why.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing that from a lot of founders and just a lot of these big AI companies is because, software can be done with automation and AI. You don't need to fill those jobs as much, but you do need that human, high touch, white glove service, the customer service. Like I'm sure your clients who are paying you a ton of money, that's what they want, right? They want someone dedicated to them who's going to give them those updates and not just like an email or like an automated post or something, right?
Yeah, we'll see kind of where AI evolves, but the whole point is context, discernment, decision
Hmm.
making, judgment. Those are things that are very difficult because it requires so much context, and you can give more context to AI, but it's not there yet in terms of making high quality decisions based off of a series of skills, plugins, ability to execute. So that is what we're seeing as like the opportunity. And the from a client standpoint, we're not trying to just sell a image, a video. Like that's not success is we're looking at production is number one. Did we produce the asset? Great, we did our job. But second is did that ad win? What is our target win rate? And so we aim for 25% of our concepts to win or more. And then how many of those winners became breakthroughs? And so breakthroughs for us is an ad essentially that spent your top 5 to 10% of ad spend on Meta, for example, depending on the size of the business, depending on how many ads you're running, maturity of the
Hmm.
business, et cetera. We have clients where one ad is spending 30% of their ad account at 300,000 a month in spend. So it just depends on kind of what is working at that time. But again, it's not delivery or account, AI assisted services for the purpose of just revenue generation. The goal is what is the value and impact that we're generating for the brand, and that's directly related and or correlated to LTV.
And how have you changed your strategy or business along with the algorithm changes from Meta or any of these other platforms?
Yeah, it's ongoing, and it's a bit of a whack-a-mole situation of based off of what is working at any period of time, you have to adjust. And this is a big learning that I had, which is that we are in a high rate of change business model, which is that things are constantly changing. If you're an extreme would be that if you're in direct mail technology doesn't change, your routes don't change, your creatives barely change. Like you have to do tests in a meaningful long form way. And so there's low rate of change businesses. And so we've accepted, and specifically me, that as a leader, we're in a high rate of change model. And then we have to react and operate in that way. And if your personality as someone who's listening is not aligned to that, choose a different business model. That's like the main thing because a lot of people are going to be changing business models out of necessity, which
Mhm.
I am too,
Mhm.
because landscape is changing.
Gotcha. And I know that you mentioned you're a part of some masterminds. I guess from like the agency founders event, what were the biggest takeaways that you learned that you're implementing in your business?
Yeah, I wasn't at that event, but I'm in the mastermind, and they're really great at structure and scale and finding like aligning incentives and also
Mhm.
empowering product leads when it comes to pod leads. And so we have multiple pods in our business, and the goal is like aligning incentives to the things that actually make a difference. And so those are some of the major things that we've implemented in terms of just making sure our incentives are correct and structure for the team so that there are real owners and alignment from like the person who's creating a video or writing copy to pod leads to department leads to leadership.
Interesting. And I guess what are some of the changes or what are things that you're looking forward to accomplishing in your business like maybe for the rest of this year?
So the way that we look at it is people vote with their money. How someone feels about your service is directly connected to what they do, right? So are they upselling and buying more services? Are they staying for longer? We've had clients that stay for a month. We've had clients that stay for 4 years. And so each one of those are have different learning opportunities within them. And recently, we experienced some churn that we were questioning a lot of like, what is it that is going on or what is the core reason for this? And one of the main insights from that after doing internal reviews was that we are doing too much and confusing our clients with our deliverables because we are in a abundance mentality of just like we will do whatever it takes to get a result. But the issue with that is that there's deliverables. There's at the end of the day, it's a transaction, and that there are expectations of if I pay you 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, or more, what am I getting for that this month? Not what you did for me last month. I don't care if you what like we've tripled businesses, 4x, business 5x. It doesn't matter. What are you doing for me today? And so we've had to have like honest conversations with ourselves and with our team of like, we don't know where AI is going. We don't know what's going to happen to the agency model. Meta isn't a fan of it. And so they are on a mission to destroy agencies. But the mindset shift for me has been it's not that agencies are dying or marketing services are dying. It's that it is simply moving. The money is moving. And so how people perceive value changes and how business owners act and vote with their dollars changes. And so
Hmm.
if deliverables are the same, marketing and messaging is the same, and then your client behavior is changing, that is where the misalignment starts. And so it happened for us. And so we've made that adjustment, and it's phenomenal to see the difference of what brands value, how they vote with their money, and they are doing that right now. And we're improving a lot of our operations as
Gotcha. And I've talked to some other agency owners about like they represent some founder led brands. And at this point, because these AI generated content is becoming so good, like sometimes they'd rather just generate the content using the likeness and the voice of that person rather than having that person record. What is your take on that?
there are brands who have incredibly high standards for their brand. And I think you should live to the standards that you set. So if a commitment is we will never create AI assets, great. Adjust your budget accordingly,
Hmm.
right? Because you can't get the efficiency of AI generated assets and then also want premium quality assets without the budget. That's a misalignment as well. And it's not fair to whether you're working with an agency or in house team of like, you want $100,000 shoots, but with $5,000 budgets. It's like it doesn't work. So I think when it comes to what you desire for your brand, you are correct because it's your business until the market votes otherwise. And the
Hmm.
adjustment to, or the thing to be conscious of is if you're doing photo shoots, really personalized ads, incredibly detail oriented briefs, and if they don't convert, then it's not a market thing. It's a you thing. You have to decide then how do you want to react if your ads that you're emotionally attached to and financially invested in are not performing. That's the challenge where most founders take way too long to learn that lesson. And sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years, and sometimes never.
Hmm.
Um, it's our responsibility as an agency to give that feedback, especially because we're not emotionally or financially invested like they are. And so if we are on the same team truly and we act like it, and the client feels that way, it's easier to have these difficult conversations. I have one right after this call because my team asked me because one of our clients sent basically a book about feedback on why the nuances of the UGC are incorrect. We want to create the relationship that is meaningful for our clients, and when the team wants that support, I'm there.
Interesting. And going back to AI, are you using Clawbot or Claw agents in your business? And what sort of things are you using those for?
Yes, and there's so much more opportunity all the time. We just had a meeting today. There's a massive difference of like, I'm interested in AI versus I'm actually doing AI.
Hmm.
And it's very easy to see that. It's the same way of like, if you have a sales or marketing problem, look at your calendar and how much of your calendar is sales and marketing, and you'll see how serious you are about that problem. And so it's the same thing for me right now. My days consist of anywhere between 2 to 5 hours a day related to AI execution, AI strategy, consulting, support, ideation. And the reason we're doing that is because, again, there's a difference between talking about it versus actually being committed to it. And so we have
Hmm.
consultants, we have developers, we have different resources, we have a budget for AI level execution. And our goal is that how do we empower our team instead of have them in fear of AI? The goal is whether we have to like let go of people or team structures change, all that kind of stuff. The goal is not to be scared of AI. It's to embrace it. The way I joke about it in our team, it's like, do you want to use a calculator or not? This is like the level that we're talking about. If you choose not to use AI, you prefer to do math by hand. It's just completely unnecessary in 2023. And so it's not meant to be disrespectful. It's just like a reality check of like, it's The tool is there. You can calculate by hand or you can calculate with a calculator. And so choose one. And if you choose not to use a calculator in this example, like it's not going to work. The relationship's not
Hmm.
because our expectations shift, right? So our expectation is are higher because we expect to have a leveraged operation on AI. So the way that we're using it is based off of our onboarding processes. We have 10 different tools that we're using from a creative and copy standpoint, editing standpoint, and of course, like generation of music and jingles that we're doing, animations, all that kind of stuff. But the more bigger opportunity for my team right now, including myself, is the mindset around what would you do? What would you have to like? How would you operate if you had to automate 90% of what you're doing? Not to fire you, but to actually have you work on better opportunities.
Hmm.
And so that is the more difficult part that that we're discussing internally because the opportunity is not here's an automation, here's like a daily analysis at 9 a.m. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But does it actually meaningfully change the direction of our company? And most of the time, the answer is no.
Interesting. So, how did you find these consultants and what sort of approach did they take in terms of optimizing your business?
The first part is what actually matters, and therefore, here's all the things that don't matter. And so that was an important distinction because, like, if you look at our business, there's a series of departments we have, and we deprioritize AI implementation in most of them because they don't add significant value. So we're essentially looking at two different departments, which is sales and marketing as one, and the other is our creative department. Those are the high leverage activities that we can do. We cannot work on all things at all times, obviously, like it would just be slower. And so we have different people working on those two departments.
Interesting. And I guess like overall in terms of like your life goals, I know that you have a family. What are your goals like with this business? Like where do you want it to take you ultimately?
Yeah, I've struggled with that because I've realized that I'm an artist. I like to be involved in the execution, and that doesn't it's not a traditional business owner mindset, and I'm very aware of that. And so there are the way that I'm looking at this is that this is a stepping stone to additional opportunities to have high quality leaders running different functions. And so that's how we're operating at the moment. And so there's different functions in our team of like creative advisory versus creative production versus media buying. And in the future, hopefully launching coaching arms and data arm. But the opportunity is essentially we have an operating system to execute. What are the opportunities to actually do that on when it comes to end brands? And so that's always been the goal. And we've had a couple of opportunities there and one currently in the works as well. But that's really the end goal in the sense of or a major milestone goal, which is taking the operations we have and implementing it to better opportunities.
Got you. And I guess just to wrap things up here, do you have any advice for people that want to be an entrepreneur or start an agency and do what you're doing?
There is a massive difference in offering services that people want versus people need. So I have spent a lot of time selling services that people need. It is way more painful and unnecessarily difficult. And so it is easier if you look at, if you're starting an agency, there are things that are hot and sexy right now that you don't have to be great at. You don't have to be great at marketing. You don't have to be great at execution. You don't have to be great at systems and processes, talent, all because it's just a great opportunity timing wise right now. And so I think opportunity selection is the most important part. It's the same thing that we've done right now out of all the different opportunities based off of our skill set and our stage of the business. We've chosen creative strategy and it's already transformed our sales and marketing the way that is happening at the moment. And so if you are in a different stage, you might want to raise money and do a very different activity, or you might want to take your current business and take your team and apply it to a completely different opportunity. And so, if you're starting, find the opportunity that is the most meaningful and that aligns with your criteria. If you don't have a criteria on how to choose an opportunity, I would start there. And usually, when it comes to choosing what you want or discovering what you want, it's often easier starting with what you don't want, so you can narrow it down. AI and ChatGPT are your friends to do that. And for people who are already in business and growing or looking for their next thing and thinking about how to do AI implementation, the starting point is, again, what are all the departments and the functions that you're not going to focus on? Because those are usually easier. And the goals are usually, how do I make more money, or how do I save more money, or how do I get things done faster? And so if you look at those three lenses, you'll see the opportunities in your business a lot simpler. And if you have $1 million business, what is $100,000 opportunity within my business? Versus if you have a larger business, the percentages and numbers are significantly different. So find meaningful, juicy, sexy opportunities if you are just getting started. And then if you're a business owner, look for meaningful, incremental, or transformational opportunities based off of where you're at so you can focus on that. And then the other ones you actively, constantly ignore.
That. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll have to have you on again in maybe 6 to 12 months and see where you are at
Yeah,
that
let's do
point.
it. Let's do it.
Thank you. And for everyone else, please tune into the next episode of the Breakthrough Blueprint.